Not all engines are created equal, and that's exactly why we thought today we'd lay out 10 engines that are reliable, durable, and well, essentially indestructible. Now, most of these engines might not offer pulse-pounding performance, but they make up for it with their extreme dependability. We're kicking things off with the legendary Toyota 1UZ. Look folks, this is an engine that both matched the Germans in engineering and surpassed them in reliability at the same damn time. And though this is a Toyota product, the 1UZ is most remembered for being put in Toyota's most upscale car at the time, the iconic Lexus LS400. This 4-liter V8 featured a heavily reinforced block and a hefty forged steel crankshaft with 8 crankshaft counterweights, 2 more than the conventional V8 of the time. Because of this, as well as its generally incredible all-around engineering, the 1UZ was smooth as silk. Something that Lexus emphasized with their incredible champagne glass hood balancing advertisement for the car back in the 90s.
The Lexus LS400 is designed to stir the soul, and not much else.
Of course, we can also point to the 1UZ's successors, the 2UZ and the 3UZ, as also being incredibly reliable engines, because they totally are. But it was the 1UZ that started it all, and genuinely proved that Lexus was, as they say, in the relentless pursuit of perfection. But as incredible as the 1UZ is, there's no replacing the king of the V8s, the General Motors LS. Remember, this isn't a performance list, though some of the engines were offered in performance applications. This is about engines that will last forever. It just so happens that the LS V8s are capable of doing both. The LS debuted in 1997 with the then new C5 Corvette, and ever since it's been revered as one of the most trusty American engines ever made. Like ever. Thanks to the LS's trick hyperprotective pistons that allow higher in-cylinder heat and tolerance, as well as the higher flow aluminum heads and uber strong connecting rods, it'll run hundreds of thousands of miles in stock form with minimal maintenance. And the maintenance that you do have to do will be cheap because, well, America. But even when modded, the LS with stock internals can handle double or even triple the stock output and still hold out just about as long as a stocker. From Camaros, Firebirds to Corvettes, and more. These LSs have been keeping some of your favorite cars on the road reliably for a long time. But the LS isn't the only engine that has served multiple models with unparalleled reliability, and that's because the Honda B series exists. This family of 4-cylinder engines was found in cars like the Honda Civic, CRX, and Integra from the late 80s till around 2001, and it did its job better than anyone could have asked for. The beauty in these bite-sized 4-cylinders is in their simplicity, overly beefy blocks and well-engineered run-of-the-mill internals. And of course, the B series did oversee the change from single to double overhead cams and would eventually feature more advanced tech like Honda's legendary VTEC system, but the regular economy car B series engines were the ones that cemented Honda's bulletproof reputation when it comes to reliability. Of course, we could totally mention the other iconic Honda 4-cylinder platforms like the trusty D series and the world-beating K series, hashtag K-swap the world. But the B series came through at the right time and at the right place to earn itself a spot in the history books. And speaking of Japanese 4-cylinders from the 80s and 90s, up next, got a little truck engine that could, the Toyota 22R. Much like that cute little Honda B series, it's the lack of crazy out-of-the-box engineering that makes the 22R so freaking good. No special materials, no wild electronically controlled systems, and nothing you don't need. The 22R has built its reputation as a workhorse engine in its time in the Toyota Hilux, or what folks here in America cleverly called it, the Toyota pickup. And you could also find it in the Toyota Cressida, 4Runner, Celica, and even the Land Cruiser. It had awesome low to mid-range pull and could punch way above its weight in utility applications. In fact, most people agreed that the only thing you need to maintain on these engines for them to run literally forever is the timing chain. And even that doesn't have to be changed for at least every 100,000 miles. I've seen them go way longer. I don't know about you, but one major service every 100,000 miles or so sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Unlike the LS V8s, this engine isn't much of a standout in the power department though. We're talking a puny 113 horsepower at an even punier 4,800 RPM here, folks. That's why eventually it got retired for good. but that's also why it lasted so long. It doesn't stress its components by trying to pretend to be a race car engine. Enough of those damn Toyotas for now. Lord knows they always dominate lists like this. So let's take a look at something fresh. The Ford 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6. Since its debut in the Lincoln MKS in the late 2000s, the EcoBoost V6 has been a huge game changer for Ford. But it wasn't until the second-gen EcoBoost V6 that things really got pretty amazing. Key changes to the second-gen engine included valve train improvements, an updated turbocharger design, a new fuel system, and enhanced bottom-end durability. It can be found in stuff like the F-150, the Expedition, the Lincoln Navigator, and even Ford's most beloved supercar, the Ford GT. There's no wonder why these engines keep getting bought up by customers year after year. They're fuel efficient, make just as much power as other engines with more displacements, and they will last a long time with proper maintenance. In fact, looking at only the F-150, 80% of them were sold with EcoBoost engines in 2021. Goes to show how impressed customers have been with this thing. Now, sure, some owners have had some problems, but it seems like the majority of them are directly related to neglected maintenance. Take care of your EcoBoost, and it should take care of you. A lot of Toyota guys will tell you that the Camry's best engine ever was the old 2G V6, and while they absolutely do have a point, I'd argue that the smaller 4-cylinder 2A RFE could possibly be even better. And yes, I'm talking about Toyota again. Sorry, you just can't escape them when it comes to anything discussing reliability. Anyways, the 2A RFE is known as yet another one of Toyota's seemingly unkillable pieces of machinery. It debuted in the 2009 Camry, the official car of slogging through the daily commute, and it immediately, well, it did nothing special, just as it was designed to do. It was sober with its sub 200 horsepower and relatively understated personality, but that's exactly what most people want in an engine. No drama whatsoever.
Oh, wow!
And it achieved this feat of reliability through things like reduced tension piston rings, low friction internals, and a variable stage oil pump amongst other clever engineering. But you don't have to have a Camry to get this bulletproof 4-banger. You can also find it in the RAV4, the Scion TC, and even the Lexus ES250. Fancy. Now, nobody really does anything fun with that Camry engine, but you know what engine has seen some real shit? The AMC Chrysler 4-liter Inline-Six. This is a cool engine, not because it's high-tech. In fact, its blueprints can be traced back to the mid-60s. What makes it badass is its commitment to things that just work. It's got an overhead valve train, a good old cam and block design, and very dated intake and exhaust ports that reside on the same side of the head when modern engines all have them split to either side. For all intents and purposes, it's basically a tractor engine. But all those components put together make them go forever and ever. I actually challenge you to abuse this thing hard enough to blow it up, because odds are you probably can't. They've been thrown around on the trails and bogged down in the mud for decades, all while overheating and being oil starved, and they just don't care. And if you'd like to experience the luxury of never having to replace your engine, you can find these things inside Jeeps like the old Cherokees, the Wrangler, Comanche, and even the Wagoneer, all from around the late 80s to the end of the 90s. Now, of course, Honda is known for their 4-cylinders. I mean, the S2000's F20C? Come on, it's one of the best of all time. But don't sleep on Honda's V6s. This is the Honda J series. Found in the Honda Accord and Odyssey, as well as things like the Acura TL and CL, the J-Series V6s have been an integral part of what has made Honda such a wonderful all-around brand, and they still use this engine family today. The J-Series can also make a great performance engine, but it's one you won't have to worry about blowing up, like, ever. It does this thanks to heat-resistant pistons, a forged crank, and Honda's super intense stress testing and development programs. Of course, in some applications, the J-Series features things like VTEC and cylinder deactivation that help increase performance and efficiency. But like many of the other engines on this list, the J-Series' success is because of its simple and proven components that work well in a variety of applications. People are putting these things in all kinds of stuff these days. These two engines can be found in Toyotas like the 4Runner, Land Cruiser, Avalon, Tundra, Tacoma, Camry, and also a bunch of Lexus models. I mean, do I really have to say any more? That list of cars is probably a huge portion of many of the most reliable cars ever lists all over the internet. And much of that esteem is thanks to the GR engine family. In fact, these engines are so popular and adaptable that Lotus, of all people, used these V6s in sports cars for years, with superchargers on them. But the bread and butter of this engine is unquestionably cars like the 4Runner and Land Cruiser, two cars that you probably see at least a few times every single day, and never broken down on the side of the road. Owners have come to expect at least 300,000 miles out of these engines over the years, and it's safe to say that they consistently hit that target. I mean, both the 4Runner and Land Cruiser are in the top 5 models with the highest percentage of units with over 200,000 miles. Pretty good club to be in if you ask me. But now, possibly the most reliable engine of all time, and maybe one you forgot about. It's the GM 3800 V6. When they talk about strong as an ox, this is what they mean. They have bulletproof blocks, indestructible internals, and fantastic ease of maintenance that makes these engines an absolute dream for your wallet. The 3800 came in cars like the Pontiac Grand Prix, the Firebird, the Buick Regal, the Chevy Impala and Lumina, and even the Chevy Camaro at the time. And while they did come in supercharged trim starting in 1998, these aren't the most performance-oriented engines by a long way. 205 horsepower at its maximum. But of course, as we've learned from this list so far, that means nothing when it comes to reliability, and the GM 3800 is just about the GOAT in that department, especially the Series 2 iteration that changed the deck height, improved the pistons and crank, and featured a better intake manifold amongst many other small improvements. So there we have it, 10 solid engines that'll last you till the sun burns out, but it's only 10 of the best. There are a ton more out there that we missed, so let us know which ones you would sub in down in the comments below. And make sure to like, subscribe, and find more great content to watch right over here on Ideal. My name's Trav, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week.